Hello, Guitar Smarts fans. Before you check out this podcast, I want to make you aware of a cool new place where you can interact with other Guitar Smarts listeners. It's a Facebook group called the Guitar Geek Hangout. That's where we hang out and talk about all things guitar. So, if you like the Guitar Smarts podcast, come and chat with Kieran and myself over in the Guitar Geek Hangout on Facebook. Maybe check out some pre-podcast clips and even get involved in asking and answering lots of questions from the other page dwellers. Hope to see you there.
And it just so happens that at the same time you get to do something that you really enjoy doing, which is like pick up a guitar and play music and, you know, do a face melting solo. But at the same time, you're like, because I can do that at home, right? In this room, I can turn on an amp, I can plug in a guitar, I can put on a backing track, and I can have as much fun. Is it anywhere near as much fun as when I stand up with a group of people, even at a rehearsal, let alone in front of an audience and do it? No way, it's not even close.
No, exactly.
It's not even close. And the difference is that I'm doing it with other people.
Greetings, welcome back to the Guitar Smarts podcast. Hope you're all keeping safe and well. This week, Kieran and me are talking about why you should join a band. Now, we love playing guitar, talking about guitars, looking at guitars, generally geeking out on anything to do with guitars. But there's nothing really that compares to the enjoyment that comes from playing music with other human beings. Nothing quite grows your musicianship like being in a band does. And there are so many other reasons why joining a band is a wonderful thing to do. That's what we are here to talk about this week. Housekeeping. Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast on your preferred podcast app. Why? Because you'll get alerts when a new podcast is released, and that means you won't miss another show. And if you liked and subscribed because you like the show and you listen to us regularly, then use the links in the description of this show to leave us a rating or a review. This is the best way to support us, and it helps us to grow. Lastly, I want to give a couple of shout outs. Thank you so much to Nick Reed from Evansville, Indiana, USA, for reaching out to us. He made a recommendation to us to listen to a great band from his local area called The Cold Stairs, who just recently toured the UK. They are great. If you love rootsy riff-based rock, you should check them out. Link in the description. Secondly, another huge thank you to Mr. Andrew Cole, who very kindly made a donation to the podcast on our Buy Me a Coffee page. It's incredibly generous of you to support the show, and Kieran and I will be sure to treat ourselves to a fresh coffee thanks to your kindness. In fact, it's very hot here in the UK at the moment, over 30 degrees Celsius, so I might make mine a mocha frappuccino if you don't mind. There are links in our description to our social media pages, links to our Buy Me a Coffee page if you do feel generous like Mr. Cole did. Come and see us on our social media pages and we'll be happy to see you there. That's about enough from me. Let's get to it. It's recording in progress.
Recording. Okay, I'm good to go. Yeah, recording. Everything's cool. Got my cup of tea. Yeah.
Happy days. Kieran, my old mate, how are you doing?
Buddy, I'm really well. I've had a fantastic week and I'm feeling really good and life is good.
You look well.
Thanks.
Yeah, you look like... Have you had a holiday or have you just... Have you been away? Yeah, good. Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Fantastic.
We went to Turkey last week with the family. Oh, mate, it was so much. It was so needed. We had a holiday planned back in Easter. I don't know if I told you we were going to go to Morocco in Easter, and Morocco still requires you to do a 48-hour PCR test. And we thought that's fine. You know, we'd all had COVID, a few months prior, and we were being pretty sensible about everything. So we said, it'll be fine. No problems. Anyway, 24 hours before we were due to fly out to Morocco, we got our PCRs back and we all tested positive for COVID again. So we had to cancel that trip. Like literally within 24 hours, everything was packed, ready to go to the airport, all paid for. And I was crawling towards that holiday, man. I really needed it. Do you know what I mean? When you just like, you've got it in your head and you're like, yes, a holiday time. Yeah. So it didn't happen. And I ended up having to look after the fam for a week because they got it quite badly. It was my wife's first time having COVID, so she got hit quite badly. But anyway, rebooked a few months later, not for Morocco, we'll go next year, but we went to Turkey and wow, what an incredible country.
Really? I've never been.
I hadn't. I've traveled a lot of the world and I hadn't been to Turkey before, but the people, the food, the weather, it was just sensational. So yeah, fantastic. I feel like a new man. I've had a good week last week. I've had a good week at work this week. So yeah, life is good, buddy. How about you, mate?
Good. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I'm good, man. Work's good. Work's kind of calming down a little bit. It's been mad busy this last month or two, which is good though.
Yeah,
I like being busy. Yeah, but bit of travel and not much new to report. Oh, I had a gig. Last time we had a conversation, I had a gig coming up, didn't I? That I was saying that was.
You did, yeah.
Like
the one
day.
where. Yeah, the long day gig and we've talked about learning songs under pressure.
That's right.
You had a few tricky ones to learn.
That's right. A few tricky ones to learn and not much time to do it because the set list was only shared with me like the week before. But it went really, really well, and it was a really, do you know what? It was an interesting day because I was a little bit kind of fed up that it was going to be such a long day. It was a gig in the middle of London. And the setup time and everything was super early. We had to be there just after 12, basically, to start the setup, mainly because of access to the site. So the event was actually in a place called, I think, Clissold House, which is in Stoke Newington in London, North London. And that house is part of just a public park, just a large, London average town public park. So we had to be there early to get access into the building. And even though we were set up and sound checked by about 3:30, we weren't starting until 9. So it was a long time to wait, but it was a beautiful day. That park was absolutely stunning. I spent hours just outside, just on the grass, just chilled out, just watching the world come and go. And it was actually a really relaxing afternoon in the end.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's so busy in this park. People having barbecues, there's family gets-togethers. There must be like 10 or 15 birthday parties going on. I just thought, I'd never seen a park so busy. And then it occurred to me, I was like, well, in this part of London, this park is like everybody's back garden, isn't it?
Yeah.
You forget that kind of thing, Well, we are just out in the sticks outside of London, where we've got our own space and our own gardens and things like that. You forget how social everyone has to be in London to kind of, live in the summer. But it was fascinating watching, I just spent hours people watching before the gig, and it was actually really relaxing. And then the gig went really well. It was nice to do a gig with the Helix through in-ears, just kind of because it was so simple to set up. And the guy did the sound was superb. So I had my own stereo mix and everything, and it was great. And actually, I could control my own mix from my phone. I just had to download an app and control my own monitor mix from there, and that was easy peasy. So it ended up being a super easy gig. It was just a long old day because I left the house at 10:30 in the morning for the gig, and I only got home probably about 2 in the morning the next day. So it was a long one, but it was a great gig, and it's nice to have got out and done it. But that's really it for me. Just been working and had a gig since the last time we spoke, mate. Nothing really to report.
Oh, I'm pleased it went really well, though, especially after our conversation around how it was going to be a long day, a bit of a schlep to get to, new songs to learn and everything. But, it's nice when those things turn out good and you end up having an enjoyable experience from it, because sometimes that isn't always the case. And it's why we get apprehensive about those kind of slightly longer day gigs and early setup times and stuff, because invariably sometimes you're doing these gigs where you are waiting around where there is nothing to do. You haven't got a space to just chill out nicely, and you've got a long drive home, and it's kind of like a bit of a. But it sounds like you made the situation work for you and just went and had some time to chill out and just thought, well, I'm done. What else am I going to do? I'll just have some time and just relax and recharge. I didn't expect it to be like that. Like I said, it was kind of I didn't know it would be such an enjoyable park to just spend time in. I mean, I just wandered around and then would sit down at a bench. I think at one point I must have been sat at a bench for about an hour and a half before I realised how long I'd been sat there, just kind of watching the world come and go. And it was really great. You don't get the chance to kind of chill out like that, but I guess I had to make that day work. I had to find some time in the day to kind of relax and disconnect from it all. So lucky it was there, really, where it was so easy to do that. But I've got another gig coming up in a couple of weeks' time with another new band, actually. So I've got another set list to learn. And this is different. There's medleys in this one and a lot of defined arrangements. So again, I'm under pressure now to learn a lot of stuff. But it'll be a good gig. I'm still looking forward to it because it's with quite a few people that I know. So that'd be cool. So rather than all new people. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's always nice when you can reconnect with people that you maybe haven't played with for a while and yeah, and you can have a bit of an on-stage laugh as well because you know each other, which is
he nods and winks and laughs.
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
Yeah, I definitely do. I definitely do. I had a really cool experience this week with work. So I flew back from Turkey on the Sunday night after a lovely holiday, and then Monday straight up to Birmingham. Drove up there because we had a 3-day sales conference with my work. So I was because I'm one of the senior kind of guys there. I was helping run the show, doing lots of presentations throughout the day to the company, and lots of kind of motivational talks, and all that kind of sales and marketing director stuff, all that jazz, all the worky stuff. But it was the first time we got together as a company pre-lockdown, right? And normally we would get together a couple or 3 times a year, get everyone together, and have a big gala dinner and have some drinks and a party and all of that, as well as all of the kind of presentations and stuff to the teams during the day. So it was great to do that. But what I found out when I landed back from Turkey is they had actually hired a band for the big gala dinner.
Oh wow! Okay.
I was like, okay, cool, brilliant. And the event organisers called me and said, "You play guitar, right? Do you want to? I like to dabble. Do you want to play with the band? I like to dabble. Do you want to play with the band? Because actually, the concept of this band is very cool. I'm sure it's something you've heard of, and it went down brilliantly for the big awards do and the after party and everything." Is it's the name of the band is Rocky Okie, right? Right. Yeah. And these guys, I must say, I got to name check them. Dan on guitar, Matt vocals, Johnny on bass and stuff. These guys were absolutely top pro musicians, man, like freaking legendary. The event organisers sent me through the set list and said, if you want to play with the band, we can sort it out for you, because people will be getting up and singing and everything anyway. That's the whole concept of it, right? You can live your dream by playing with a live band and singing with a live band, right? So it's mostly people getting up and singing. But they said if you play guitar, then I'm sure they'll be all right for you to come and play guitar with them. So I was like, I can't resist that opportunity, really. So no, why not? But these guys, I must say, man, were absolutely sensational musicians.
Really,
absolutely. Oh, mate, they were superb. the set list they got sent to me. I mean, we'll show you for one, right? They literally had a list of like 250 songs, must have been, if not more, right? Yeah. Where people can just select it and go, I want to get up and sing that.
And then they've got to play it, right?
And then they've got to play it, right? Note for note perfect, because it's a covers band and people are trying to sing it. So it's got to be per the record and everything. And these guys just do it. It was quite inspiring to see a band with that repertoire. But got up and did a few numbers with them, but and it went really well. But just wanted to say that these guys at rockyoki.com were absolutely superb and highly recommended. But it reminded me of a few of the things that we're going to talk about today, which is why play with a band? Why join a band? Why get into a band if you're a guitarist at home and you're practicing at home and you haven't joined a band yet, or it's been a while since you've played in a band because of COVID or whatever. You and I have been out gigging now post-COVID and getting back out there with bands and things, which is great. But a lot of the things that I think we're probably going to touch on today really came to light meeting these guys for the first time this week, sitting in with them, playing and having a great time with them. There's stuff that you get from playing with a band, as we do day in, day out, that is just so transferable to different situations, and just being able to sit in with different bands and have the confidence to do that. It was a great experience. And it really made a highlight in my week. And I thought, right, well, let's have a chat this week about what it means to be in a band for people that are either had a break from it because of COVID or just thinking about doing it.
Yeah, because it's not easy, is it? I mean, even now I'm kind of like, I kind of have to count my blessings because, the bands that I've been in before as a full-time member, you know, somebody who's gigged week in, week out with that same group of people. I think I've had it easy because, you know, I've managed to be able to fit into an established band, or, you know, and kind of, it's always worked out. Whereas now I want to be in a band again, and it just feels almost like an impossible task to put something together. I find it, you found it easier than I have to kind of get yourself into, because I know you're in a band now. I'm not in a band, I only Dep. But I wish I was in a band that was doing pub gigs, and I can't seem to find, you know, the right one. But it's hard even just getting into a band, you know, just the benefits of being in a band though. I just think it's the most important thing for me. If you want to just, and we're going to talk about specific points, but for me, the overarching thing is, I think it just does wonders for your development as a musician in general, not just a guitarist, but just someone who would consider themselves a musician to play with other people. That
sure.
is so important. Sorry to interrupt this fascinating conversation, but if you've listened to us this far, maybe you should subscribe to the Guitar Smarts podcast. Go and do that now and come back when you've done it. Hey, welcome back. And I kind of feel like my life as a musician, I feel like I can say that with confidence more than most, because I was so late to gigging, even though I started learning guitar around 12 or 13, but I was in my 20s before I even took, you know, that out of the bedroom, you know, and started trying to get the confidence to play with other musicians. It was a long time for me before. I mean, you know, some kids learn guitar, they learn a song a month later, and that's it. They're in the garage with their mates, trying to jam things out and make it work. And for me, I was always too shy. But for you know, it was exponential. Once you started playing with other people, whether it was at jam nights or in bands or anything like that, your ability and your kind of just so many different things, they develop at an exponential rate. You know, it's so important. But there's other reasons too why it's good to be. So we're kind of saying 5 reasons. We're saying 5 reasons today, but there's probably more, isn't there?
There's probably loads. We'll probably cover loads, but I think there's at least 5 core reasons to get yourself into a band or get yourself back out there with a band if you haven't done that yet. And probably the first one, I don't know if we're going to tackle these in any particular order, but the first one would seem to link really nicely to something that you just said, Matt, which is this thing around confidence. You mentioned like being late to gigging and a kind of shyness. And that, I think, is a really natural feeling, right? Irrespective of when you start your journey into joining your first band, rehearsing, and then getting out there in front of an audience, right? I don't think anybody can profess to just being able to do it without any degree of kind of anxiousness and kind of nervousness and, you know, just come out of the gates fully confident, right? But when you do start to play with other musicians, join a band, start getting that experience, I have no doubt that whatever level of confidence you started from, you will end up in a more confident place, gig by gig, rehearsal by rehearsal, month by month, year by year. It's just inevitable. But it's one of the biggest things that kind of leads to that kind of either fear of joining a band or that kind of performance anxiety in a band situation, is people just kind of go, well, I can do all this stuff at home, but then when I get in a band situation and try and do it, or there's an audience in front of me, I just don't feel like I can do it.
In the moment,
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you and I have that at all anymore, and I haven't had it for years. If anything, I kind of relish the chance to get up and play and do that. Not in a kind of showing off kind of sense or a desire to kind of seek any kind of, you know, adoration from it, but just because we love doing it and we've got the confidence to do it now. It's a really, that's a skill for your whole life, right? Not just playing music.
Absolutely. Do you think, and actually, my question to you was then going to be, and you said, when you said, you know, a skill for life, do you think that confidence feeds out into other areas of your life as well? Do you think you become generally more confident in life rather than just a more confident musician? Do you think it spreads?
Completely, right. So the example I would give is, if I'm standing up in my day job for work in front of a couple of hundred people, or giving those types of presentations, or even if I'm just speaking to a small team of people, right? But all eyes are on you. You're expected to say important stuff that's going to resonate with people and make them, feel bought into whatever it is you're trying to talk to them about. You've got to have a level of confidence and conviction to do it. Now, before I ever was in the position where I was standing up in front of people and public speaking and talking in that way to them, I was out gigging and playing with bands, and people kind of ask me about where I learned presentation skills from and how I have that confidence to stand up in front of an audience and speak. And it's a really simple answer to me. It's like, I learned it because when I was 17, 18 years old, I was getting up and playing guitar in front of people and literally had the fear of God of like, oh my God, I'm going to make a bum note, or this song's going terribly. And, I just want to die. And, this is a terrible gig, and all of that stuff that, kind of from your mistakes, you get better and you learn more about your own style and what works for you. It certainly translates into other facets of my life, because it's pretty common sense, right? If you can get up in front of people and play guitar and stuff, you're probably likely to feel more confident getting up and doing some public speaking or whatever.
Sure.
That's a pretty common link there.
I agree. I think it definitely feeds into other areas of your life as well, because you learn to trust yourself, I think, a little bit more, don't you? I think you learn to kind of accept that you should give yourself more credit as a person, as you play and you learn things and you get things right, and you develop things, and you start realizing, hey, I've done this by myself. I've chosen to pick up this instrument and say, I'm not going to play along with the backing track anymore that keeps me in time, or that, it keeps the arrangement correct, or, where the backing singing's always in tune. I've worked hard on this band that I've put together with some friends, and we're sounding good. I should give myself more credit for that. And it's kind of like, I think that's why the confidence, that you get from playing in a band over time and doing it well is such an important part of it, because there's so much kind of evidence behind it, isn't it? It's not like you're overly confident, or you're just choosing to be confident for the sake of being, just for the sake of the moment. It's like over time you've proven yourself in and out day by day that you're doing something really well, and you're enjoying how it makes you feel. It's moving to yourself to kind of perform, and enjoy it. And I think it's impossible not to kind of build confidence, and that's so important in life, isn't it? To have confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a thing that you can work on, right? For people that aren't naturally confident or get anxious in those kind of public situations where they're being looked at, going out and playing with a band is a lovely way to experience it and learn from other people, like how they deal with it, how they're feeling. You feel that kind of camaraderie as a team together going through it, and also teaches you how you need to prepare as an individual to put yourself in that type of situation. Right. So I always have like a little gigging ritual before I get on stage, right? Even if I've only got 2 minutes after we've sound checked, or whether I've got, it's very simple, just a couple of little things, right? Which are very common sense to me.
I never knew this.
Okay.
I tell you a little bit more every week.
That's it. So I will always have a little step outside and a little pace around, just a few steps, just to walk outside of the kind of gigging stage environment. So always take myself outside for some fresh air. I'll always kind of get my legs limbered up a little bit and just get the blood flowing in the
get
legs
rid of the stiffness and
that's it. Just feel like I'm kind of loosened up a little bit. I would always go to the loo, whether I feel like I need the loo or not. I'll always go for a wee. That's just like a little ritual. And then I will always splash my face with water.
Really?
Always. Not so that I then go on stage looking like I'm sweating, to dry my face and all of that kind of thing. But always just kind of give my face a wash. It wakes you up. It makes you feel ready for it. And once I've done those little things, right, I can take on anything. I feel like mentally and physically ready. Now I do and I learned how to do those because I used to get anxious before going on to play a gig. Yeah. Right. But now I do all of those things at work whenever I'm going to go and speak to a group of people or go into a meeting where I know it's going to be an intense meeting. That's going to be like lots of discussion and some difficult decisions and all of that. That ritual of getting myself in a confident frame of mind and ready to take on whatever challenge is in front of me, I learned from being a nervous 17-year-old gigging in pubs years ago. Yeah. Everyone has something. But that's how I built confidence.
That is a really great ritual. I really like that kind of approach because, as simple as it is, it's like you've got it's like you've got a number of switches, just some final switches that you're flicking on before the performance kind of thing.
That's it.
And actually, I like the fact as well that you're kind of treating life as a performance in many ways. A lot of things that you have to do from day to day, if you treat them as a performance and then imagine yourself switching into that performance mode with that ritual and stuff, then it helps your confidence. It helps you to treat the moment differently, I think.
Totally. That's a really lovely way of phrasing it. Somebody said something like that this week while I was at work when they were speaking. They were just like, you've got to figure out who you need to be in that moment. Right?
Yeah.
What kind of self do you need to bring to that moment to get the result that you want to get? And that's exactly it. It's kind of getting yourself.
It is almost like being an actor, isn't it? In a way.
Yeah.
I know it is true of being in a band. When you're in a band, I mean, you are. But like I say, you're performing. You're not necessarily, maybe you think you're being yourself, but you have to bring something to it, don't you? And
you do.
Yeah, and I guess you do it the more you build that confidence. So number one reasons to join a band. Wow. Probably the most compelling, I think, of the reasons we could think of, but to build personal confidence, I think, is something that will absolutely happen if you're in a good band. As long as you're not in a band full of idiots. But that is, I completely agree with that one, mate. Building confidence is, I think, inevitable if you join and work hard at being in a decent band and performing well and getting, comfortable with the nerves and using them as, kind of propellant, if you like, for the performance, rather than letting nerves get on top of you. I remember the first gig I ever did, the first full gig I ever did. I don't think I brought my head up from looking at the guitar for the whole time. I don't think I ever did, except for maybe just to kind of look at the singer, to see where we were going. So nervous, but I enjoyed it. I loved every moment of it. But it changes, doesn't it? As you get more confident, you kind of, just things that would have terrified you beforehand just seem absolute, trivial nonsense now.
That's a really good insight. Were you aware, do you think, at the time that you were looking down at your guitar?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was a conscious decision. It was a conscious decision. I do not want to look up and look at people. I do not want to know that they're watching me play guitar.
Yeah. Because I had the same feedback on my first gig as well. But I wasn't aware. But it was clearly for the same reasons. Because I thought, okay, I've played pretty well, didn't make any big mistakes or anything like that. That's a good gig. It's gone pretty well.
Yeah.
But then somebody said, yeah, that was good, but do you realise you literally just looked at the ground the entire gig? And I was just like, well, I hadn't even thought about that. It hadn't even kind of crossed my mind because I just kind of got through the gig and there wasn't any bum notes. But then you go, sugar, I didn't really have the confidence to look up and look at the audience. And then you start kind of trying to work on that and build on that and get confident engaging the audience and putting on a show rather than just playing your instrument. And that's, it's a different level. Yeah, good.
Fantastic. Well, let's move on because I think the other important thing from a more technical perspective that is important when you as a reason to join a band is
Yeah.
For me, at least, my experience, and I think a lot of people have said this as well, nothing develops your capabilities, your chops as a musician more than improvising with other musicians and being in a situation where you're able to jam or play music with other musicians. And like I said before, it's not the same as sitting at home listening and playing along to a backing track. There's interaction when you're in a band. And for me, for sure, a period in my life where probably around 2007, 2008, when it was around the time I'd first kind of joined a band and I started going to like these jam nights in Guildford, with a load of mates from college that were running kind of live music nights that weren't your traditional jam nights where anybody could come up and they'd put a band together. It was more a case of there's a house band, but there's a load of friends that also got up and played during the house band, but it wasn't a formal jam night, you know what I mean? It was kind of, I ended up you get into this group of friends and you'd go to these jam nights and you'd play, and some of the musicians are incredible. So you raise your game naturally to try and meet them somewhere in the middle, right? Yeah. Between where you are and where they are. So, but just by sheer kind of presence of being there at that night and playing with those musicians, you are raising your game above what you're used to doing. And that just over time, it just improves you more than I think any amount of practice sat at home really does. Absolutely. Because there's nothing like that moment, when you're with other musicians where it's like you're riding inspiration, and you kind of realize in that moment what you kind of like, okay, I really am capable, of more than I give myself credit for here. I can hear and understand more than I think I can give myself credit for. And that only comes when you play with other people. Being in a band and playing with other people, that's the only time that will happen, to be kind of driven and by inspiration and to kind of develop your skills and your chops in a way where you're in the presence of other people who inspire you to do that. It does not happen at home by yourself.
No, it doesn't. Well, it doesn't, but by virtue of the fact that when you're at home, you're the best guitarist in the world. So long as you haven't got a Steve Lukather video on that you're trying to play along to, right? Yeah. And then you go out and you play with people and you're just like, I've had plenty of moments, particularly in my younger life, as a teenager and stuff, 16 years old, you think you are the best guarist in the world, man, because you've learnt the pentatonic scale and that's it. You've got everything you need in your kit bag now to go and melt faces, right? That's the arrogance of youth and what you believe at the time, right? And then you get yourself into a band situation and you think that's great. And then you realize all of the things and limitations that you hadn't learned the arrangement well enough. You didn't realize that, you needed to be really on time and listening to the other kind of guy. It teaches you so much. And I am really, really fortunate to play with people quite regularly who are way better than me. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Keeps me sharp, man. It keeps me sharp. It keeps me learning. It keeps me entertained. It keeps me kind of every time like taking on board another little nugget about what I need to do with my playing. And, at first it's quite a daunting and somewhat frustrating thing. Like, I can imagine if you're a golfer and you went out and played a round of golf with someone that just kicked your ass every time you went around the course, you'd soon just pack up your clubs and go, this is just not my game, right?
It's tiring, right? Yeah.
But there's something about a band situation where, provided you can hold your own to a certain extent, right? It's not a terrible thing if there's some brilliant musicians in the band who are way better than you, because you've still got to play as a band together and you've always got to kind of keep each other and the song moving in the right direction. But you invariably get better and better because of the guys around you, because they make you get better.
They do. They pull you up. That's the thing. Right. It's like, it's kind of, where's the average, And if you're playing with musicians, who have a certain level all the time, where the average capability is above yours, then you are by definition being carried upwards, I think. That's the way I kind of see it, is you don't, it's like, like, what's the saying? You should never be the smartest person in the room. You know, it's if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're not going anywhere else, are you?
That's it.
You know, and I think that's the key for me. With so that's another just massive reason to join a band. But obviously, don't join a band of terrible. I mean, that sounds actually not an awful thing. Maybe you should join a band of terrible musicians and be part of something that just gets better and better all the time. But from specific to my point about developing your chops and your abilities as a musician, playing with people who are much better than you is just such a great experience for getting better yourself. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
To have someone who can explain things to you from time to time, you know how to play things, and to see someone actually play something and go, okay, I understand that better.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a flip side to that, though. There is a flip side, and I think there are instances where I'm sure you've definitely come across it, where you are the strongest musician in the group, and you are kind of pulling the band up to your level. But that can also teach you some stuff as well around leadership skills and how to coach others around you, how to support them in the right way, but also how to make them get better, and how that whole kind of musical director piece where you need to make the arrangement work for others, because it's happened a couple of times in my experience, but not that often, because as I said, I love playing with people that are much better than me. But when I have been in a situation where it's required me to step into that role to help get the arrangement right, to help provide direction and coaching to others, and just bring the band up to the next level, that's another set of skills that is important to have in your kit as well. To be able to do it in the right way that encourages and gets a better result than when you started, rather than just demotivating people and you end up kind of going, well, this is just a waste of my time because these guys are just terrible.
That's a really good point, man. I think, being able to guide other musicians too, if you're in that, privileged position, then that's another really great reason to join a band, is to see something, grow and improve over time, thanks to your input and the input of others. That's a really great thing.
You did that a lot in Roadrunner, man. A lot. We would look to you for the arrangements. Oh, of course, absolutely, because you were a very experienced kind of musician. You had that kind of ability to be able to coach and lead us on different structures for songs and organising parts and stuff. So yeah, that's another facet that can come from playing in a band. So yeah, all right, cool.
I did enjoy that. It was a good one, but it always felt like a team effort, didn't it?
It did.
In Roadrunner, good old Roadrunner.
It did.
So we've hit the mark there, I think, on two really important points: developing your chops and building confidence. I mean, pretty much the world is yours after that, isn't it? But what would you say is the next important reason to join a band? If you're listening to this and you're not convinced yet, what else, Kieran, do you think?
I mean, there's quite a few things, but I think the next one for me, and again, this is probably a bit of an obvious one that we can cover quite quickly, but it's this teamwork element, right? There is, and with that teamwork, there comes something wonderful off the back of it as well. But right, to be in a group of people where you have got to cohesively come together and create something that entertains people, entertains yourself as well, hopefully, requires like communication skills, requires that kind of emotional intelligence to be able to support each other, because you might all turn up in different moods, different kind of baggage with you that day. And it is a fundamental skill at being in a team. And that's where, from my experiences, the bands I've enjoyed being in the most sometimes hasn't had anything to necessarily do with the level of musicianship on offer and the skill set on offer. It's been more to do with, am I enjoying being part of this team? And does the team look after me and I look after the team? It's that whole kind of thing. Off the back of it, when you get to a really lovely level, some of these people end up becoming, friends for life, right? Because you've got that kind of connection.
That's right.
It's a great skill. Again, that's transposable to other parts of your life. But if you're looking for an environment where you've got to communicate, give each other feedback, be able to be critical. Because if you don't, people are always going to hear the bum notes. You're always going to drop a part of that song. You've got to have all of that kind of support. And that goes all the way through from like getting the gear in from the van, helping each other pack up at the end of the night, buying each other a drink. It's all the kind of social skills that come in keeping a team together.
That's right. Yeah.
Which I think you definitely learn in a band. And that's often why bands fall apart as well, because basically it's nothing to do with people got fed up with the music or whatever. It's because they just fell out as individuals.
Yeah, because they just don't work together, or just there's too many people in the group who aren't willing to pull in the same direction.
Yeah.
That's so true. I think, again, it's like life skills, isn't it? Do you know what it is? I think the thing I'm realizing as we have this discussion is that being in a band is like this concentrated little microcosm of where if you're in it, you're learning all the life skills you could ever need, really.
I think so.
In a specific situation very quickly. It's not just about the musicianship. It's literally life skills in application in one specific context, isn't it?
Yeah.
And maybe that's the most important reason to be in a band, is to kind of advance all that.
Honestly, maybe. And it just so happens that at the same time you get to do something that you really enjoy doing, which is like pick up a guitar and play music and do a face melting solo. But at the same time, you're like, because I can do that at home, right? In this room, I can turn on an amp, I can plug in a guitar, I can put on a backing track, and I can have as much fun. Is it anywhere near as much fun as when I stand up with a group of people, even at a rehearsal, let alone in front of an audience, and do it? No way, it's not even close.
No, exactly.
It's not even close. And the difference is that I'm doing it with other people and all the other stuff that happens when you're doing it with. Do you know?
That's right. Yeah. And one of the reasons I had as well, just like moving on and to some more reasons for being in a band, was actually that audience part as well, is to play to an audience. I mean, you're never gonna. You could be a solo musician and go to some open mics or be an acoustic performer. That's fair if you're not technically in a band, but if you're in a band, you're going to be performing to audiences. And I think once you get past that shyness and that, you've got a bit more confidence and you're comfortable with looking out across the audience and seeing people enjoying what you're doing and interacting with you and interacting with them. And, that is such a real privilege. It always feels good to me to be able to play in front of a crowd of people who are enjoying themselves and seeing people enjoy themselves with what you're doing. That really feels like the best culmination of having learned something well enough to be able to perform, because if you're going to judge yourself as you're learning music, as you're growing up about, how good am I getting at this? I'm not quite getting that chord right. Well, the ultimate kind of success factor is if you can make people get up and dance and interact with them as an audience. If you get to that point in your life as a musician that you can move people like music moves you, then that's another reason to be in a band. You're going to go and do that week in, week out.
Totally, mate. Like when people get up and dance, even if it's only like a few people that have got up and danced and had a really good time because it was a quiet gig or whatever, and they come up to you afterwards and they say, "Oh, you guys are brilliant," and blah blah blah, and we had a really good time. And I just say, look, the fact that you guys got up, had a great time, really enjoyed it, that's made it worthwhile for me. That's made my night. So absolutely, mate. I agree.
Absolutely. So what have we done so far? Let's recap, okay? So far.
Okay, how many have we got to?
I think we did 4. Or maybe we did 5. 4. I don't know. I think we definitely did the confidence one. Okay. We've done developing your chops.
Yes.
We've done learning about commitment and learning about teamwork.
Yes.
And we've done to play to an audience. So we've done 4, I think. I think that's 4.
That's good. Yeah. That's 4. That is 4. I was counting as we were going through. Yeah.
And what do you think? If we are going to make this a list of 5, to you, Kieran, what would be your 5th option?
My 5th option.
Yeah.
Well, there is the life skill one, but there's also then a much more fun one, which I'm sure you've got on your list as well. But I'll do a boring one, and then we'll finish with a nice fun one.
All right, go on.
So we talked about the teamwork bit, we talked about all those kind of skills, but the commitment bit, you kind of mentioned there. Commitment is, again, like another transposable life skill that being in a band teaches you, right? There's this unwritten code, right, of being in a band when you're in a proper band and it's going well, which is like pretty much on pain of death. You don't cancel going to a gig, right? If you got a cold or you're feeling a bit tired or you've had a rough week or whatever, tough. You get there and because you've been booked, you've rehearsed for it. There's a group of people that are all, changing their life that day to go along and do the gig.
Yeah.
It teaches you how to organize your diary first and foremost around other stuff that's going on in your life. It teaches you it certainly taught me the hard way about proper communication skills with my wife, because, I need to organize my gigs around what's going on in her life and with kids and stuff. And I don't always get that right, but it's made me better. But most importantly, it's taught me how to like properly commit to stuff and follow it through, because, it's not just about you, it's about the other people and, the venue that's booked you and the people that are coming to show up because they want a night out and they've heard there's a good band coming to play and all of that. So, and I think that's a really good skill. If you find yourself, if nothing else that we've said today has convinced you to get back out there and gig or be in a band if you've not been in one before, and you're one of those people that just is a bit flaky with stuff, and go join a band because it will sort you out.
Go and join a band.
Or it won't, and you'll be sacked in 5 minutes for being flaky. Right? Do you know what I mean? We've all been in bands where like we know people who just don't respond to texts or messages or can't commit to a gig day or just whatever. It's not a good thing.
Maybe they should put, I don't know. I think it's almost like, like, what's the phrase? A leopard, you can't change a leopard's spots or something like that. If you're that kind of person, it's not going to fix that for you. But, if I agree with you, I think if you're willing to, if you're really passionate about music and you really want to be in a band, but that is something that's a problem for you, then a band will sort that out for sure. Like you say, you realize that all these other people are as dependent on you as much as you're dependent on them. And even in the moment of playing music, your part in the song is commitment, isn't it? It's that same thing.
For sure.
It's the commitment to a band is analogous to your commitment to the music with your instrument, and it's kind of like the part of the reason why these things are so important is because they apply to your passion for music as much as they do for the practicalities of being in a band. Your confidence builds because you're performing, but also because you're playing music you love, and you're developing chops, not just because you're playing with people who are great, but because you've got passion for the music that you're trying to play and improvise over. It's like everything about what happens interpersonally and what happens musically is so connected with being in a band. That's why it's so cool and so good to be in a band, isn't it? I think. And being able to learn about musicianship and performance from other people is so important. Those things are all, it's such a great experience being in a good band. I think we've sold it so far. Pretty.
I think so. I'm pretty sold. I'm sure that. But I know you've got a fun one for us to finish on.
Absolutely. To say it's a fun one, this may be the most important one. I think so. Let's just go. The fifth reason to join a band is the excuse to buy more gear.
Oh yeah. If it was the 1960s, it would have been sex with groupies. But we're all a bit wiser and sensible now. We're happily married men anyway, so we don't get to do any of that anymore. But the thing that we do get to do is buy more
gear. Yeah, exactly.
Yay!
More pedals, more guitars, more amps, everything that I mean, just. And, I need a louder amp for this gig,
That's it.
We're doing this new song, I'm going to have to get a better chorus pedal. It's just, everything just feeds into your, gear acquisition syndrome, doesn't it? It is great. Oh, the other guitarist has got one.
If I was... we were doing a little pedal board comparison with the guitarist in this Rocky Okie band. He had a lovely pedal. He had an incredible tone.
Really?
Absolutely ridiculous. It's a die for, mate. He had this little LinkTree amp head and cabinet. really gorgeous sound out of it. And he had I think it was one of those Yamaha, they're called Reverend guitars. Revstar, thank you, mate. But with the P90s in it, I kind of watched him play the other night. I was like, oh man, I need a guitar with P90s in my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's it. I need a guitar with P90s. It just sounded epic. Absolutely. Yeah. See, look, I'm doing it now. I've convinced myself I need more gear.
You are, aren't you? You're just proving the point. Proving the point.
Exactly the point. The point. Yeah. Don't have a P90 guitar. It sounded amazing. Yeah, I need one of those.
Now you need a P90 guitar. There's lots of good ones out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, speaking about pickups and things like that, just before we wrap up, I did want to just say, do you remember how when I got the Gretsch and the Telecaster or the Esquire, I said I was going to retire the Les Paul?
Oh, yeah.
Well, really what I'm going to do is I'm not going to retire it, but I'm going to take the opportunity now to kind of give it the retirement it should have, and I'm just going to upgrade it and just everything. I mean, I've had it for 20 years. I think it needs a refret, so I'm going to at some point get it refretted and get that just perfect. I'm going to replace all the hardware with like really good top quality, like Tone Pros stuff and some really decent,
lovely,
proper tuners on it and stuff like that. Get all that upgraded. I'm going to redo the wiring completely from scratch. Sort all that.
Did you put new pickups in that before?
No, it's still the original pickups. But you know what pickups I'm going to go for? I'm going to go...
I was going to just automatically say the words iron gear, but I do realise there are other pickup manufacturers.
They are fantastic, but I think I want to put in, I think this is obvious, but I want to put in a set of DiMarzio.
Do you?
Yeah.
I fitted a set of those for our good friend in his Luke. Yeah. In his latest, not in his latest one. In Damo's middle Luke, we put in a set of transition pickups.
Good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know. But that's what's in my mind at the moment, is to I really want to overhaul the guitar and just kind of say, you've had 20 years of hard work gigging, as my main guitar for a long time, up until getting the Strat, really. And I kind of want to, just upgrade it. I kind of feel like it deserves more. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like...
I completely know what you mean.
It's like the Rolex watch for 20 years of service kind of thing. That's what I feel like I want to do for it.
But do you know what? I think it's a really important thing to do. I'm kind of laughing because this is how I justify most of my extravagances to myself. But genuinely, I think this is a worthwhile thing for you to do, because you've got now a lovely collection of nice guitars building, right? And you know that you're probably going to gig those ones more than your Les Paul now. You will not play that Les Paul again if you leave it in its current state, just as it is. Yeah. Right. And that will be a shame because of the sentimental value, because the gig memories you've got with it, everything that goes with it. And because when you're out playing and doing your gigs, you're going to go for your other newer guitars now, because they're your kind of workhorse guitars, and they'll be set up and well maintained, etc. So you're in danger of having that Les Paul just stay there as a piece of wall art with memories. So I think if you do this, get it as good as it can get, playing really nicely for those moments when you're just sat at home and you're not going out gigging and you want to play guitar. When you pull that down off the shelf, it'll have all of those appointments on it, and it'll be good to go, and it'll make you think, oh yeah, I still love this guitar, rather than, oh, this guitar is lovely, it's got memories, but it's a bit neglected now, and the frets are out, and the wiring's no good anymore. And so I think it's an important thing to do, to celebrate the life of that guitar and make sure that it keeps getting played by you in the future when you're not gigging.
That's perfect. You just hit the nail. So perfect.
Let's go buy some more stuff.
Let's go spend some more money.
Let's go spend some more cash.
Oh, brilliant. That was a fantastic conversation, mate. I think that's really, actually, just having the conversation has kind of given me the impetus to just go out there and maybe join a band rather than trying to put one together, which I've kind of been thinking about a lot recently. But, most of the people I want to play with who are friends are too busy anyway to put a new band together. Maybe I just need to go and find some new people and, just join one and kind of just enjoy it and get on with it. So see how that goes.
Buddy. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Any band would be lucky to have you, mate.
Oh, thank you, mate. That's very kind of you to say.
Oh, man, insane guitar player. You're ridiculous.
We need to get to a jam night as well. When are we going?
We do need to get a jam.
Come on.
We really do.
Come on,
really
we've got to do it.
Next Thursday. Let's go next Thursday.
Next Thursday, it is. Let's do it. Perfect.
All right.
By the time this is out, it'll be like last Thursday or the Thursday before. And then the next one that's out, we'll talk about how good the jam was.
That's it. That's what we're going to do.
Cool. Mate, what a pleasure. A cracking week, cracking conversation as always. Anything planned for this week?
I've got a chilled one. I've got no gigs this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Just family time this weekend, and then plenty of gigs lined up in July, which is lovely. Going to go and see Guns N' Roses live in Wembley next weekend. Not Wembley, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Okay. Excellent.
So that's a bucket list item for me to see the pretty much original.
Is it really? You're pretty much the original.
Well, Axel's
just
back,
with
Duff's on bass,
a few extra years.
Slash is there on guitar. Yeah, there were just a few
more miles on the thing.
On drums. Yeah.
Axel's going to be sat down the whole gig, and Slash is going to be one of his pedals is a pacemaker, isn't it? Direct to his heart.
Well, you joke, but that's true. The kind of the opening few pages of his autobiography is how he recants that at least one point of every gig that he does, he gets a massive jolt from his pacemaker that is in his heart at some point during a gig, and it hurts every time. Yeah, because he almost died like 73,000 times during the 80s, didn't he, from excess, and his heart has got a pacemaker in it as a result of him doing that. And so it does go off every gig, apparently, according to his autobiography.
It's just like terrifying. I
know. See, they don't make rock stars like that anymore, mate. They really don't make rock stars like that.
Is there anything more rock and roll than that? Than that very thing? That might be the most rock and roll. It might be the most aged rock and roll thing. He's so rock and roll, he keeps playing through his pacemaker, restarting his heart.
Electrocuting his heart back. That's almost Spinal Tap, isn't it?
Isn't it? It is a bit Spinal Tap. No, probably not. No, he probably stays away from water as much as possible. This is the Electric Man of Guns N' Roses. I imagine just, do not go near water.
Dial pacemaker up to 11 before going on stage. Brilliant. Oh, wow. I wonder if that comes as part of the instructions for his guitar tech as well. Yeah. Sort out the back line, sort out the pedals, restring the guitars, put a new battery in his pacemaker.
Rub his feet and get rid of static electricity before he hands over the guitar, just in case.
Stop it, you're killing me. Anyway, I'll let you know how that goes. That'll be good.
On that note, have a cracking week, mate, and I will speak to you when I speak to you next.
Yeah, have a great week yourself. Cheers, pal.
All the best, bud. Ta-ra, mate.
Bye, mate. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to us this week on the Guitar Smarts podcast. Hope you found this interesting. Maybe you're now motivated and ready to go out there and join or start a band. You should do it. Definitely do it. You'll love it. Anyway, we look forward to having you back to listen to us in a couple of weeks' time to the next show. In the meantime, remember to check out the links in the description. Come and give us a rating or a review. Check out our social media pages and check out some of those other links in the description for recommendations for bands to listen to, etc. And anyway, we'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.